Hello and good evening. Welcome to Community Crossfire, where you hear all the wonderful information in and around our community. My name is Ugundi Jacobs, and tonight I'll be filling in for none other than Stormin' Norman Oliver. Now, you know when Stormin' Norman gives you an alley-oop, you got to slam it. So tonight it plans to be no other. I plan on bringing you some powerful information from a lot of good guests. We have a lineup full of guests from the mayor's office. We have Miss Alexandra Coppage. We have Shaylin Batt from the Department of Transportation, along with Jim Black. But before I go into my interviews, I'd like to share a little commentary with you myself. First of all, I have to say, had I ever said any of that, had a conversation that Sidney Poitier had with his father, I probably would be laid out in the living room floor. So Storm, that conversation is very heavy, my brother. But moving forward, I want to share some local, regional, and some national news that may have or have not crossed your ears. First, we have some local news. I start out by speaking on the local news. I attended a 3rd District Planning Council Committee meeting 2 weeks ago. And in that Planning Council meeting, the chairman had presented a proposal to have a community memorial park located at the corner of 17th and Locust Street. This community memorial park is supposed to be for those who have passed on in the city of Wilmington as a place of memorial and to honor those deaths. Now, I, for one, know that the city has had enough of death and destruction going on for quite a few years. We have experienced record number deaths, record number shootings, and crime is uncontrollable. I am totally against this proposal, and I ask if you ever hear of it in any conversation moving forward, that you do so as well. It's nothing more than a colorful cemetery that will be located directly in the community where we live, where crime is high, unemployment is high, poverty is high, and showcasing and highlighting something like this is not good. Next, I like to discuss something more regional with the retirement of Allen Iverson. As we all know, Allen Iverson retired last night. They hung his jersey up in Philadelphia in front of a sold-out crowd. A lot of great memories Allen Iverson shared with us. But of course, he will be always remembered as the mischievous young fella who played professional sports. He had a lot of memorable moments in Philadelphia, and he will go down unmistakably as one of the best point guards that ever played in the league. He came out of Georgetown in 1997. He was the #1 draft pick coming out of Georgetown, and he had some amazing moments on and off the court. So we're going to be talking about that. You're more than welcome to call in and chime in. Let us know what you think about that. And as I was looking at the retirement ceremony, I was just wondering, as I was watching, I was wondering what was Dr. J thinking sitting behind him when they kept mentioning him as the best thing that ever happened to Philadelphia Sixers basketball. Can you imagine what he was thinking? And also, I was a little disappointed in the owners when they mentioned that Allen Iverson he was good, but they're looking for a new Allen Iverson. I was like, wow, awkward timing. And also, I'd like to move on to some national news. This has been out for maybe a few weeks now, and this is with the drama within the estate of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His 3 children are, in charge of his estate, primarily his 2 sons. And they want to sell his Bible and his Nobel Peace Prize. And his daughter, Bernice, she's strictly against this situation. And I'm quite sure that being Black History Month just ended, that the timing, one, was terrible, and two, I'm quite sure that Martin Luther King Jr. is definitely turning over in his grave, as his daughter had announced in a press conference. So those are 3 topics, as well as some other topics that we'll be discussing with you tonight. When we put up the number later on in the segment, please feel free to chime in and give us your viewpoint. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Miss Alexandra Cobbage. She's from the mayor's office. She's going to be sharing some upcoming events and coming in her own words with you tonight. So, Miss Cobbage, how are you tonight?
Thank you for having me. And first, you touched on the Allen Iverson retirement. So it's like, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. And I tell you, I was there last night, and I almost got teary-eyed.
You had to.
I mean, that's just we grew up on, people my age grew up on Allen Iverson. So this was like the end of an era for us.
Right, most definitely.
So when you was saying, how did Dr. J feel, I wasn't worried about Dr. J. It was all about number 3.
Most definitely.
Thank you for having me. I am the Director of Communications for Mayor Dennis P. Williams.
Yes.
And, I am, you kind of asked me before we got on air, am I the youngest person to have this job? And I think I might be. I think Chandra Sims with Mayor Sills might have been around my age, but I might be the youngest.
Okay.
And that's just a testament to Mayor Williams. I mean, I'm out in the forefront, so it's more noticeable, but I am by no means the only young person in this administration.
Right.
I mean, the special assistant to the chief of staff is 27. We have a young man who's in economic development named Stephen Williams, who is 26.
Yeah, great guy.
Yes. So Mayor Williams has been committed to giving young people all the experience possible. And that's something invaluable, especially in the African American community where, we're not always the first people. Right. We're not always asked to come to the table.
Right.
So, they kind of say start at the bottom and work your way up. And he has been committed to always putting young people at the forefront.
Yes.
And in times when it matters most, and even in decision-making times.
Yes. That's very plausible for our mayor also.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
how are you liking your job?
I like it. I mean,
a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, are you still enjoying it?
I'm alive to talk about it.
Okay.
I guess that's the best way to answer it. I mean, with anything new, you're going to go through some ups, some downs. I feel like our administration, we kind of went through a baptism by fire a little bit where just a lot of things out of our control happened, from courthouse shootings to police officers being shot. I mean, it was just a lot of different things that most administrations don't see in their full term, more or less in their first year. So with all that experience, it comes a little bit of wisdom. So, and there have been some people who have been very supportive, from one of the mayor's good friends at Osborne to, even different people in city council. So it's definitely been a learning process, but I enjoy it.
All right. So in this short span, what was some of the most important things that you've learned thus far?
Going through your first budget is always something that you go through, and that's where you learn, what city council's role is, and, going through that process of trying to create a budget for the city of Wilmington and for the people of Wilmington that's fiscally responsible. I think that's the most important thing that we all need to remember. It's, we're not nickel and diamond and, playing playground politics, as Mayor Williams likes to say. It's
big business.
It's making sure that we have a budget that is responsible and allows us to provide the utmost service to our constituents.
Okay.
So that was one thing, but also just interacting with the media, things like that you just learn from going through it.
Now that's pretty much your title.
Yes.
Head of Communications, correct?
Yes.
So let us know, inform us of your day-to-day operations.
Day-to-day life. Okay. So basically I am supposed to be, the mayor's right hand when anytime he steps out that building.
We see you very much.
So if he is at an event, I'm at an event. If he has an interview, I'm the person that's setting that up, getting it on this calendar, facilitating that between whoever the media outlet is and him.
Okay.
if it's prepping him and providing talking points for any engagement that he has, any interview that he has.
Okay. Do you do a lot of writing?
Yes.
Okay.
All those press releases you see
I
go
get your
out.
emails every day.
I was going to say that's me. It's one of those things where it's a lot, and it might not be a lot in a tangible. You can actually say like put something in my hand.
Right.
But it's just a lot of, for lack of a better word, communication and communicating between different people.
Okay.
Meaning, if you call and say you want a proclamation or a tribute, that's
Right.
me. If the News Journal calls and says they need a comment, that's something that, and the mayor might not be available, I have to come up with that. So it's a lot of different things, but I do think it is, something that I would encourage a lot of young people to explore, just because I went to school, at the University of North Carolina and
Okay.
majored in journalism.
Okay.
And with the goal of one day, being on ESPN or
Right.
being the next Robin Roberts.
Do you still have that dream?
Of course, you always,
Okay.
you always have that dream, but this has been a huge opportunity. And this
right.
is something that even in college, my professors didn't even really present as an opportunity. It's something that, it was one of those things where go be a reporter. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
and
right.
this is, you don't have, most people don't have the opportunity to have their voice or their words heard by a couple 100,000 people
Right, on a regular basis.
on a regular basis.
Right,
And because of Mayor Williams, I have that opportunity to
Okay.
where I can I can say like people hear what I have to say.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's huge.
Okay. So I know you're here joining us to discuss a few items.
Yeah.
One being the
rededication.
of Peter Spencer Plaza.
Yes.
Elaborate on that.
This past week, we did the rededication of Peter Spencer Plaza. It's right across the street from the Lewis L. Reddy City County building. It was led by the Department of Parks and Recreation. It was almost $1 million project where they added new pavers, planted new trees, new benches, a new runoff system. I mean, it's completely redone, revamped. It looks absolutely beautiful.
Right.
A great place for employees, residents, or visitors to come, sit, relax, enjoy
It looks
lunch.
good. I rode by the
Yeah,
other
I mean,
day.
it looks
Yeah,
totally different.
it does.
And it was perfect timing to do it. I think people don't realize, especially in our community, the significance of Peter Spencer. Not the
Great
way
pioneer.
yes,
Yes.
and not the way they recognize Lewis L. Redding or other civil rights giants in our
Yes.
community. I think he kind of gets lost,
Yeah.
and he is actually, should be recognized as a national.
Most definitely, he's the
founder
of the Black
first,
Movement
yes,
Church.
yes. So and that's in the nation, and I think people don't even realize that about the city's own
Yes,
history,
has much tradition and history here.
and
right in the
especially as
city.
strong as the religious community is in our city.
Yes,
I feel like
yes.
that kind of gets lost. So it was
Yes.
important to Mayor Williams to do that in Black History Month
Mm-hmm.
and really get that out there that this is somebody who should be celebrated, and
Most
while
definitely.
we're celebrating, also realize we still got some struggles we still got to
Most every
overcome.
day.
You know what I'm saying? So
Every
it's
day.
one of those things where while we take this moment to honor someone who is definitely worthy of the praise,
Yes.
we also got to keep in mind that this is just we still got a lot of obstacles as a
Yes.
people
Yes.
to overcome.
Yeah, I believe in honoring our past who've paved the way for us.
Absolutely.
But we definitely like to honor and highlight those that's currently making
Right.
moves and bringing
Right.
changes of positivity in our life. And that's very important.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of history, but it's history. We have to create, like yourself,
You
you're
can't get
creating,
stagnant.
yeah, you're creating new history.
Right. You have to.
And we cannot get stuck. It's a great learning experience for us all to learn from, but we have to make some new history so that our ancestors and our forefathers will be much prouder of us
then we
coming
are.
off the backs of them.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's that constant progression.
Most
and
definitely.
that's what we all have to, because we can't act like the color of our skin isn't the color of our skin as African Americans.
It is
So
what it
we
is.
we gotta. I claim that proudly and say,
Yes.
I realize when I step outside every day, that's who I'm representing.
Right. So
And
who are some of your
people I
Black
look up to.
pioneers that you had a lot of love and respect and admiration for?
Well, I ran track growing up.
Okay.
So, and I did the heptathlon, which most people don't even know what that is, but that is 7 events in
Right,
2
doing
days.
it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jackie Jenner Kersey was my idol for a very long time.
Okay.
Because we did the same. I did the event like she did.
Right.
How can you not say Oprah?
Okay.
That was one of my big ones. But I heard Toni Morrison speak. She came to Wilmington Friends School when I was in school in about the 7th grade.
Okay.
And she was one that I really liked, her and Maya Angelou. I had the opportunity to see Cicely Tyson speak.
Okay.
And blew me away.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a lot. I like a lot of different women.
Yeah. Okay.
And from athletes to Robin Roberts to, people like Felicia Rashad, all of those, Soledad O'Brien. I mean, there's just a lot of people that I feel like have done a lot for African American women.
Okay. Now, on a man's side.
On a man's side.
On a man's side.
You tell me.
I'm more of like I say a Frederick Douglass.
Okay.
And
so
a Muhammad Ali.
Back. But okay, that one I can give you. That one I can give you.
Because Frederick Douglass, I can picture myself like hey.
Okay.
In terms of, I'm going to be combative when my slave master come to do something to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my hands up and be ready to duke it out.
You going to be ready.
So I know Frederick Douglass, he whipped up on his slave master and ran away. So he ran from city to city, state to state until he became, a free slave, free man.
Yeah.
And began on to do a lot of scholarly things. So I'm between a Frederick Douglass and, of course, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Rumble, man, young man, rumble. I'm like a Muhammad Ali.
Listen,
I like Muhammad Ali.
I don't know how you don't. I don't know how anybody doesn't.
Yes, he stood. He stood for integrity and discipline, and he had great faith in God. So, and he just had style and grace that carried him a long way, and he's still one of the most beloved individuals in the world today. Yes, not just athlete, but just individual period. So I would say those two individuals.
Okay.
And what else would you like to share with us?
We have coming up some more our quarterly community cluster meetings. And the last cluster meeting we had, and all these community cluster meetings are at the Emergency Operations Center.
Okay.
And the last set was actually pretty well covered in WDEL and the News Journal. And the goal of these community cluster meetings is really to create a forum where neighborhoods from all across the city can come together by region, come together and address some issues that they might share that they wouldn't be able to share just with their own civic association, or maybe if 2 or 3 civic associations got together. This is really having a whole citywide conversation about some issues that are affecting everybody.
Now we know that crime and shooting is probably the number one discussion in all of these clusters. What would you rate to be number 2 and 3, and how are we going to be able to address them and handle them?
Well, I mean, this series of community cluster meetings is actually going to be more about building your civic association and civic engagement. The first ones we did were, obviously public safety, shootings, crime, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And in those meetings, we told them, this is a collaborative effort. So one of the ways you can prevent crime is building a strong neighborhood.
Right.
And we're going to work with you to build this strong neighborhood.
Right.
And now we're in
both the residents in the community as well as the officials.
Exactly.
And the police, yes.
And it's one of those things where, so in this meeting, we're actually going to be doing, it's four different training sessions. So, I mean, one is how do you get the membership in your civic association up? Another one is maybe grants or project writing for civic associations that are more advanced. Another one might be communication within your civic association. It's a lot of different things that, okay, this is how we're going to help you start to get your neighborhood strong so that you can get when crime does happen, you don't have that hesitancy to reach out and cooperate with police.
Right.
So, and that's
Do you ever see the day coming that will take place? Where residents will feel more comfortable dealing with the police?
I think if you put the work in, it will be. Because there are here's the thing that people have to understand. There are neighborhoods where that exists already.
True.
So it's not impossible. It's not an impossible thing to get to.
Not at all.
I live in the 1st District near PS.
Okay.
And stuff don't happen on our block. Not because, we live in a bubble and crime just doesn't come through. It's that our block looks out for one another.
So do you, in this snowstorm, do you help your neighbor shovel your snow, or does he help you shovel yours?
Well, I'm a young lady, so I'm not shoveling no snow. But my neighbor shovels my house and the woman who lives next to me. So so yeah, we take care of each other on where I live. It's one of those things where I remember in the first month I lived there, I accidentally left my door to my car unlocked.
Okay.
And someone had actually gone in my car. They didn't take anything because I didn't have anything, but they opened my door. So one of the neighbors, came and knocked on the door, and he was just like, I just want to let you know somebody was in your car. I'm going to follow him down the block just because I don't play that.
Wow.
And then he was like, you call the police, so when they get here, like, I'll tell you where he's at.
Right.
And that's the type of, but that's what it takes. And that's why we have no incidents, because
Right.
people know, I'm looking out the window to make sure my neighbor is okay.
Okay.
And that's what it takes to start, cracking down on crime. It's not always calling the police, because I'll tell you, most of the calls
being a good neighbor.
It's being a good neighbor, because most of the calls that the police get aren't crimes. I mean, it's issues that police can't deal
Nuisance
with.
calls.
It's not even nuisance, because nuisance is a crime, but it's my kid won't go to school today,
Okay.
or the next door neighbor's dog is barking. Well, what we gonna do?
It's not going to do it. Address the situation.
Yeah, right, you know what I mean? Like, and that ties up resources. When
Right.
police are over there making that call, they can't be somewhere else where they really need to be.
Okay.
So it's like you said, being a good neighbor is
Right.
the first step to really having a strong neighborhood.
And also, you would like to speak to us about the reestablishing
The Wilmington Civil Rights Commission, and this
Right.
was, Mayor Williams joining with Councilman Darius Brown, and Mayor Williams said, Darius came to him one day, Councilman Brown came to him one day, and said, I think this would really be a good idea,
Right.
And it tied in perfectly with doing it at Peter Spencer Plaza. At the rededication ceremony for Black History Month, just
Right.
because the commission, the Wilmington Civil Rights Commission, is really just about making sure equal opportunities exist and people are not being discriminated against for anything. I mean, whether it's your ethnicity, your race, your
Right.
gender, your sexual orientation. I mean, economic status, you name it, anything.
Cross-culture, yes.
It's about maintaining equal opportunities for everyone.
Okay. Now, is this an 11-panel membership?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's all throughout the state or just in the city of Wilmington?
City of Wilmington.
Okay.
City of Wilmington, but it's a good first step. I mean, just to have it was dissolved, and to bring it back that's the first step.
Right.
And
bring that rigor back into the movement.
that accountability.
Yes, most
you know what I mean?
definitely.
You have to have oversight. And so kudos to Councilman Brown for really leading the charge on that.
That's wonderful. That's a great
So.
job. Was there anything else you'd like to share with us before we close out and go to our next segment?
No, I just thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank
Glad
you.
you stopped in.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And you drive home safe.
I
and
will.
get prepared for the snowstorm that's
Listen,
supposed
but
to be
we work
coming.
tomorrow. Some of us, even though the city's closed, the mayor, fire chief,
Okay.
EOC, Public Works, License and Inspection, Parks and
Okay.
Recreation.
He sent you.
East, yeah, like I somehow I become essential too. But we go to work tomorrow, so
Okay.
you'll see our tweets, our emails, and people plowing and stuff like that. So we'll be working.
All right.
So I need some rest.
Well, you have a good evening.
Thank you.
And
too.
again, thank you for coming in.
Appreciate
We're
it.
going to take a short break, and coming back, we're going to have Cabinet Secretary from DelDOT, Shaylin Batt, as well as Jim Black. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Community Crossfire. Again, my name is Ugandi Jacobs. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. On this segment, we have joining us Shaylin Batt. He's the Cabinet Secretary of DelDOT, along with Jim Black from the League of Women Roaders and Partnership for Sustainability in Delaware. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, you're here tonight. We're going to be talking about Governor Markell's transportation investment into Delaware's futures. Give us a broad overview as to exactly what that's about.
Yeah, so the governor, when I became cabinet secretary a few years ago, the governor had talked to me about his desire to do more in terms of making sure our infrastructure was safe, that we had economic development opportunities like our surrounding states.
Right.
And his first task for me was to sort of, clean up some of the stuff with DelDOT and restore the credibility of the agency.
Right.
And now that task has been accomplished to a certain degree, the governor is anxious to provide certainty of funding and put some more money into our infrastructure.
Okay. Now, these days, you're like the busiest guy in show business, correct?
That's right.
With all this weather and all of the expected weather that's coming, what is your day-to-day operations like with all of this weather?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, today it's a Sunday, and you would think it's supposed to be a day of rest, and I think I've had at least 8 conversations or email interactions with the governor.
Okay.
You know, when you have this much of a snow event that's about to occur, it's
Right.
kind of like the Oscars for us.
Okay.
And so
It's a big night.
It's a big night,
Okay.
and tonight is going to be a big night. And so we're very
Well prepared.
We are. We've got about 450 pieces of snow fighting equipment
Mm-hmm.
that we'll be using tonight and into tomorrow. We've got over 500 personnel. We've got enough salt to use. That's been a bit of a concern for some.
Right.
We're ready
You
to
have
go.
a surplus of salt, I read.
I would not call it a surplus. We've got just enough.
Okay. Okay. How about you? How you doing tonight, Jim Black?
Very well.
You could chime on in there with us.
Yeah, well, the way I got involved with this is I've been working with the labor unions through Delaware Jobs Now, which is a coalition of organized labor and business interests.
Okay.
And we've been pushing the governor to do more investment in infrastructure to get a lot of the construction workers back to work.
Yeah, we thought we was going to have Mr. Sam Latham joining us tonight, representing the unions.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah, I've been working a lot with Sam.
Okay.
He's a great guy, and a lot of his members are out of work.
Right.
And if we can get the infrastructure going, we can put a lot of those members back to work.
Yes.
With good paying jobs.
Yes.
And that's what we need. That would be
Most
a boost to
definitely.
the economy. We need the infrastructure, but it's really important to get people back to work.
Right. Now, Governor Markell, he's proposing a $500 million budget or plan for the next 5 years.
Yes.
How is that going to be brought to fruition?
Well, and Jim talked about the focus on jobs, and I think that is what the governor, along with listening to labor and some of the business interests, has been very focused on.
Right.
And I served 2.5 years in President Obama's administration at the Federal Highway Administration.
Right.
Prior to taking this job.
Have you served at local, state, and federal
And that's
positions,
right. That's exactly right.
I've been doing a little research on
That's
you.
right. You have. You have. And so, the Federal Highway Administration estimates that for every $1 billion in transportation infrastructure investment,
Yes.
you get about 13,000 jobs.
Yes.
And so, with the governor, when he says, "I want to invest 500 million over the next 5 years,"
Yes.
That's going to translate into thousands of jobs, and it's going to mean putting people back to work, but it's also going to be an incredible benefit. You look at some of the transportation improvements that we've made, the 95 and 1 interchange by the mall, 95 and 202.
Right.
We raised up Market Street to get at deal with some of the flooding issues. So not only do you get the jobs, but you're also left with an infrastructure, piece of infrastructure that serves the community for, in some cases, decades.
Yes. Well, we know that statewide unemployment is roughly 20%, and maybe city of Wilmington unemployment rate is roughly maybe half of that. How are you going to get those jobs and those jobs within the next year or two? Is this something short term or is this something long term that you're projecting?
One thing I just want to make one point. I believe that the statewide unemployment rate is either at 7.2% or was at 7.2 and has come down a little bit. But we're actually coming out a little bit stronger now that the economy is starting to pick back up.
Okay.
But what is very clear is that there are a lot of people who want to go to work right now, and we need to create jobs for them.
Okay.
And that is why the governor has called for $100 million a year for the next 5 years, and that is a combination of a gas tax increase. 10 cents a gallon will still be amongst the lowest in the region.
Right.
As an example, that will take our state gas tax to about 33 cents.
Right.
And just as a comparison, Pennsylvania just
40.
increased theirs, and it's actually going to be closer to 60 cents
Wow.
in the next few years when
Wow.
they're fully done. Maryland is going to be closer to 43 cents. And so even though we're increasing our gas tax, we're still going to be lower than the region. And this is something that has not been increased since 1995. And then at the same time, we're also going to borrow some of that money to take advantage of some of the low interest rates right now.
Now, where are you going to borrow that money from?
Well, we would sell bonds, and
Okay.
then bondholders come in, and because Delaware was, we just reaffirmed as a state our AAA bond rating, and DelDOT as an agency has a very high credit rating as
Right.
well. That means we enjoy, we're seen as a good risk,
Right.
and so,
So your
lots of
interest
people.
rate are pretty low.
Interest rates are low, and
How much?
I mean, it would depend on the market conditions at that time. You're probably talking
Currently.
in the 3 to 4% range is what we would be paying on those bonds.
Okay.
But you don't have to pay as high of a premium when you have a solid credit rating.
Right. Now you're talking about jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in Governor Markell's state of address, he mentioned the city of Wilmington
Mm-hmm.
being a key player in turning things around for the overall state. Is there money set aside to put Wilmington unemployed residents in training so that they could be available to start working in those jobs that he's projecting?
I think whenever I've talked to the governor about this, and obviously I'm very focused on transportation issues, but as a cabinet, we're always very focused. And I think that the governor, in his State of the State address, talked about the need to help our downtown areas. Mm-hmm. And I believe that he is part of his program is based on a pilot of a program they did in Virginia that was very successful in terms of rejuvenating downtowns, stimulating investment in those areas, because I think that the governor believes, and I'm sure the mayor does as well, they've had some conversations about this, that if you're going to attract residents and create jobs in these downtown areas, it's going to pay benefits in terms of just more stability in the area, cut down on some of the issues that have been there, and it's just a win-win. So I know the governor's very focused on that.
Okay. Jim, you're more than welcome to chime in with us.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. When you're talking about the job training, a lot of that's going to be done by the unions, because it'll be the contractors who are bringing the people in that'll really determine where those workers are coming from.
So what if everyone isn't in a union?
Well,
non-union members,
most
non-union
of these
employees.
jobs will be going to unionized.
Only?
Not only,
Okay.
but a lot of them will be, because on these contracts, they're large contracts, and the union shops are very competitive.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a mix. We do a competitive bid process, and so there are contractors who use who have union folks, and they will bid, and we find them to be very competitive because they do produce good work.
Okay.
But we are bound by rules, the federal rules, in terms of we have to go with a low bid. So that's where everybody's very focused on.
Okay. Well, folks, we're going to start opening up the phone lines. The phone number here is 661. What's the number here? 661, there you have it right there. When you call in, please turn your TV down. We cannot hear you. You're more than welcome to ask Cabinet Secretary Shaylin Batt and also Jim Black a few questions. Feel free to call in. I see the phone is ringing already.
Wow.
Good evening and welcome to Community Crossfire.
Hello, Gundy. How you doing?
I'm well, and yourself?
All right. This Diggin William, 199. Used to be the janitor.
Yes, sir. I remember checking in early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning.
Right. Tell the gentleman I say hello, but I want to talk to the first one there.
All right. What's your question?
I want to ask him, 199, the governor believe in the non-union, but 199, we need some work. Because, the biggest to get to non-union, like down there while they're building the new motor vehicle.
Okay.
They ain't have now black man down there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they need to look into that. That governor, he want everything to go non-union. He want everything to go non-union. Now, I'll get right off the phone so we can talk to somebody else. Let me tell you this. I know you ain't the main, but the people, the head of that show, the rest of them need to get together and tell Tomcast to fix it. Cut off all for the last 3 months.
All right.
Off the heat when the mayor was on there. So y'all have a blessed night. I want to hear a response from him.
Thank you for calling. Would you care to respond on that?
Yeah, I think what he was saying is that the governor is not supportive of unions getting these jobs, and nothing could be further from the truth. I think that in all of the discussions that we've had with regard to this infrastructure proposal, whether it was the Building and Trades Union or Sam Latham, I mean, they've been at the table. They know, and I would encourage the caller to get in touch with some of the union folks who know that they're going to get these jobs. Okay. And he did raise one project. That we are building a new DMV in Delaware City. Okay. And there have been some people who are saying that we are not using minority-owned businesses there. And there is a DBE, minority business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise. And there is a quota that is needs to be met on that project, and that contractor is fully meeting that quota. And so, I've heard that a couple of times, and just wanted to clear that up.
So I know you have the Title VI program in your mission statement. Who actually runs that or oversees that to make sure
so that is
those
run.
policies are really being followed?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. I mean, when I was at Federal Highways, I mean, that is something that the Federal Highway Administration tracks pretty closely. So, you have to have, certain target amounts that are going to disadvantaged firms.
Okay.
And also then within DelDOT, we have a lady named Marty Dobson who oversees that. And as part of our contract administration, when somebody's applying, putting in a bid, we have to say, here are the disadvantaged business enterprises that we're going to be using.
So as far as percentage-wise, what's the percentage that may be included?
I should know off the top of my head. I don't want to throw out a number because we're on TV, but I'll get that number to you. But it is a substantial amount, and there are a lot of firms.
Is it 30, 40, or less?
I think I would say it's closer to 20.
Okay.
20% is the number that seems to be in my head, but I'll verify that.
Right.
But we are always actively looking for DBE firms, and oftentimes
How about individuals, not just flaggers? How about
no, in this case it would be
engineers?
it's the firms who are applying as so
As
you
a
have a
whole
prime
entity?
contractor,
Okay.
and then they sub out
Okay.
some of the work,
Okay.
and oftentimes it'll be a subcontractor
does the
that does that, and so
Okay.
we've got that as a main focus for us.
All right, we want to take the next caller. Good evening and welcome to Community Crossfire.
Yes, I'd like to be on the set for a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, I want to know what they're going to do with people that have worked and paid in for their unemployment. And, like I said, all the senators and representatives, they getting their money. But I need my money. And, it's a worldwide, it's not me, it's worldwide. We paid into it. So what's this to stall up, on our money? I know you got to do the budget cuts, but we got to live too. We paid into it. So I can't understand it. And the governor Martell, what is he going to do pertaining to helping people get their unemployment? He's getting paid every week, however he gets paid.
Okay.
So why ignore the people that paid in to their unemployment, and they should be able to get it because they paid in for it. Ain't nothing like the government getting them free. They take it out because we worked.
All right, thank you for your call.
Yeah, I don't know that that's quite related to the transportation question, and
Correct.
I think it may be more at the federal level, where as part of the struggles at the federal government right now, there are questions about extending long-term unemployment benefits. And I know the president and the governor supports the president,
Right.
and so
He just signed
they've been
something
looking
for it
for
to continue.
It's just hard to get it out of Congress right now.
All right.
Come
Thank-
on, Gundy.
Here I go. Welcome to Community Crossfire.
How you doing, Gundy? This is Julius Cephas, president of the Port of Wilmington.
How you doing, sir?
How you doing? And I work with the cabinet member he's on the board. He's a pretty good guy.
Right.
My question is that when we do a lot of these construction jobs, when we see these construction jobs, we see a lot of Maryland tag. Do they have any plans to try to get more Delaware workers filling a lot of these construction jobs? And number two is that I think for the most part that he's doing an excellent job at the Port of Wilmington. He's pretty much supporting a lot of things that we're trying to do as far as job training, job education. But again, we have such a big unemployment problem. What can he do to help get some of these jobs from Delaware to some of these employees? And I'll sit and listen.
So before you go, let me ask you this. You said you sit on the board with him, right?
No, he's on the board. I'm a member. I'm the president of the union at the port. He's on the board.
Okay.
And I think he does a very good job. I think he's fair, and I respect that. So I just want to hear what he got to say.
All right. Thank you for your calling.
All right.
So, Jules, thank you for those kind words, and I'll look forward to you at our next board meeting. I think that there's a couple of things. I think the governor is very focused on making sure that every time DelDOT puts out a contract, that the maximum number of Delaware citizens are the ones who get those jobs. The one thing that works a little bit against us is that we're not allowed to have any kind of local hiring preference when you're using federal funding. The Federal Highway Administration says that it has to be a competitive bid.
Right.
And there's the other side to that. If we suddenly said that in Delaware, we're only going to hire Delaware residents. What would stop Pennsylvania from saying, well, we only want to hire Pennsylvania people up in Pennsylvania? And suddenly, there's a lot more work that goes on in those states, and you wouldn't want Delaware contractors and employees being shut out there.
Right.
So, we find we have a pretty good mix. We have most of our money is going towards Delaware contractors, but we're never going to be in a position to say it's going to be exclusively Delaware.
Right.
But we try to, and I know the governor's very behind this, that we try to maximize the amount of money that's going to Delaware contractors.
Okay. Well, I know you competing with those other surrounding states. They're getting much more money than what Governor Merkel has proposed. From Philadelphia, Maryland, Virginia, they're getting almost double the amount. How is that going to sustain us in terms of competition?
Well, I think that, Pennsylvania is a much larger state.
Right.
So they and their transportation network is in much worse shape. I don't know how many of your folks are out there driving around up in Pennsylvania, but they have a lot of bridges that were going to be closed.
Right.
And a lot of pavement that was in pretty bad condition. In Delaware, we've done a
Here
good job.
also.
This winter has been terrible.
Ooh,
but
what kind of quality material is being used? Because it seems like the roads are getting worse and worse after new construction has been provided. It seems like within the first snowstorm or so, it seems like you had more potholes than you had before.
Yeah, well, that is what happens, right? And the other thing is that we've had, I want to say about 40 to 50 days where you had temperatures above freezing during the day and went below freezing, and that is what causes potholes.
Okay.
Right? And so we're working to patch them as quickly as we can.
Okay. Thank you for calling Community Crossfire.
Hey, how you doing, Gundy?
I'm well, and yourself?
This is Rick Williams. To the Secretary of Transportation.
Can you turn your television down?
Yes, hold on. We went on the site, the DMV site, the new DMV site, and it was 5 different groups went on there, and there were no minority contractors. Minority contractors was on there, but there were no minorities working. There was no African American men or women on the site when we went down there. We went down there with Senator Townsend. Now, they do have 3 minority contractors. One is Apostle from Maryland, one is Cherokee Nation, and the other one is Rock Solid, which is Norm Oliver. But as far as African Americans working on the site, there's none down there. And we cited them, and we went to the governor, and the governor said he's not for set aside. And so, what he's saying is right as far as the contractors, but when it comes to workers, there's none on that site as I speak today.
So what would you propose?
Well, we're working on that right now. It's a group of us. We've been working with Senator Townsend and other elected officials trying to get more, people on the sites. Delaware has the worst set aside for minorities in the country. It's worse than Alaska.
I would agree.
And Iowa, which is only 2% or 1% black, where you had 25% African Americans. Here, we get 0.1% of $2 billion from the state.
Yeah.
And it's a disgrace.
We'll keep the
and
fight.
The government we have is not really for set aside to help African Americans out.
We'll keep fighting at the table and make sure you make something happen, Brother Rick.
Well, it's a long fight. When you got a culture here in Delaware, they just been doing things the wrong way. It's a fight.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling. Good evening. Thank you for calling Community Crossfire.
Yes. How you doing, Gundy?
I'm well, and yourself?
Pretty good. And tell your mother, Lisa, said hello. You're doing a good thing for the community, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Is that I'm concerned about unemployment. That's a worldwide issue. I know that the president is making cuts, and he's doing what he needs to do. But my point of it is, it's a worldwide situation, and Governor Martell needs to address that issue because we still have bills to pay, and we do pay, into it. So what's the holdup? You know what I'm saying? They getting their checks however the government getting their pay, they getting paid. So
you said they not getting no shortcuts in their paycheck, huh?
Exactly. They getting their money. So don't put us on the bottom table and ignore us, because see, we paid into it and we got to live too.
All right.
You know, I understand how he's doing all these other cuts and this, that, and the overseas or whatever, but look at the middle people, because they're the one that put him in office. So
Okay.
it's time to address this issue, and it's not on the back burner, because we work for it, and I need
You deserve
my money,
it.
'cause I got bills to pay.
Right. All right.
So
Thank you for
I
calling.
love you. Tell your mom Lisa Forrest that I love.
All
and
right.
Keep doing a good job for Wilmington, Delaware.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Alrighty.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say to that, and there's obviously unemployment is a large issue in this country, and the governor is very focused on it. I mean, if you could see what the governor, his schedule is like, he's constantly going to businesses, and he always says, I asked them to, one question: how can we help you grow your business?
Right.
So he's always going around the state, and I really think that is the foundation of this transportation investment program, to get more people back to work, to help our infrastructure, and to help deal with unemployment.
Yeah. Well, I know the governor's growing that business by them red light tickets.
So there's two separate red light ticket programs. One,
For the city and the state,
and the
correct?
city runs the one
Right.
in the city, and DelDOT runs the one, sort of through the rest of the state.
Yeah, but DelDOT made what, $4 million last year?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Although there was a, I think the News Journal did a pretty good, took a good look at it, and they were complimentary of the way DelDOT was running it, in the sense that they said that we were using it for a safety perspective. If you look at the crash data for
Right.
where we've put our cameras and where and the crash rates that have come down because of that, you can see that the cameras are making a positive safety impact.
Most definitely.
The money, the money is great,
It doesn't count.
but
doesn't add up.
every fatality that we save by that is
Right.
worth
Priceless.
much more.
Right. Good evening. Thank you for calling Community Crossfire.
Thank you, Gandhi. This is Pastor D. I'm enjoying the show.
Hey, beloved.
How you doing?
All right.
I first want to commend you, man, on both parts of the show, earlier and right now. Now, I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary if he would respond to Rick's point. I think Ricky's point, Ugandi, is a critical one, and the issue of the African American participation on job sites is one that should not be taken lightly, and I'd like to hear the Cabinet Secretary's view. Secondarily, if he would respond to or inform us as to the policies of DelDOT with respect to formerly incarcerated people.
Great question.
And if there is any new or innovative thinking, given the number of people in the state of Delaware who do indeed have criminal histories. Finally, I hope you will come back to the subject of the memorial that you discussed earlier there on the east side, as I think that has some merit to it and needs deeper discussion.
All right. I'll try to fit that in. We only have a few minutes left, but I'll try to fit that in. But thank you for your call.
So let me quickly try to address that. What I said earlier, and I think what the caller agreed with previously, is that we do have DBE participation, disadvantaged business enterprise participation on that DMV project.
Okay.
What I have to do, or what we have to do as an agency, is follow the rules. So we are following the rules with regard to that. Now, if somebody changes the law and says that you must have certain minority representation when you come to a work site, that's not the way the rules are currently established right now. We do it based on DBE enterprises, getting a piece of that action.
So what if enough of those DBE enterprises do not register or put in their bids?
What the Federal Highway Administration talks about is ensuring that there is a good faith effort. And I'm here to assure you that we are putting out a good faith effort to make sure that it happens.
So do you solicit those DBEs?
Oh, absolutely. And we work with, I believe it's Delaware Tech and some other agencies to try and educate people, to train people, to bring them on.
Do you have anything currently on the table that those DBEs can
if anybody is interested in getting work through the Delaware Department of Transportation, we'd be happy to take them through and help them out. And then the other part of his question was, what is Delaware doing with regard to employment for ex-convicts?
Right.
And I think that the governor in his State of the State address talked about the whole ban the box.
All right.
Right, so that we take that off
That's
the
vital.
application And so that, when people are applying now, again, like most things that, when you try to take a stand, there are people who are coming after the governor for doing it.
Yeah.
But, I just want people to know that the governor was very clear in his State of the State that he would like to ban the box so that people who have served their time have a chance at some of the jobs that are available.
Yeah. I believe that's a good faith attempt, but I also understand that that's basically prolonging the inevitable, just allowing folks to get into the door to have an interview, to still at some point say, we're going to keep you to the side. That's still a little questionable for me. But we're going to take one more call before we close tonight. Good evening, and thank you for calling Community Crossfire. We only have a minute left, so we have to speed up, please.
Okay, we'll make it real quick. I'd like to know what his opinion is. He was talking about following the rules, why the drivers don't have bathroom breaks and lunch breaks, and follow the state law.
All right, thank you.
I'm not aware that our DART drivers don't have bathroom breaks or lunch breaks.
All right. Well, that wraps up this hour. It went by pretty fast. I thought I would have more time to get into some more subject matters and take some more phone calls. I'd like to thank all of my guests for joining me tonight and all the viewers viewing at home. Again, my name is Ugundi Jacobs. And before you go, I'd like to share this with you. The race is not given to the swift, nor, excuse me, the race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but he who endures until the end. You have a wonderful evening, good night, and have a wonderful week.